Is Los Angeles worth moving to? How's it going? And in this video, we're gonna be talking about Los Angeles, and is it worth it to move to Los Angeles if you're trying to get started in the audio industry? Every year, hundreds of thousands of people pack up their bags and they head to Los Angeles. They head there for adventure, culture, food, and hopefully fame and stardom. And those are some great reasons, and part of the reason why I myself made the decision to move to Los Angeles a couple of years ago back in 2017. And for myself, moving to Los Angeles was one of the best and worst decisions I've ever made for myself when it comes to my career path with audio engineering. So let's get into it. So very quickly, a little backstory. I grew up in Southern California. I grew up in a desert town, and all my life growing up, I was always the guy in the band playing guitar, and music was all I could think about and wanted to do. And sooner or later, I felt like wanting to be in music was going to lead me to Los Angeles. And being in music, if you want to make it, Los Angeles always comes up. Movies, films, whatever. Los Angeles is just the place to be. And I really try to prolong moving as long as I could, because LA is intimidating, especially if you're an introverted person and you don't have an extroverted friend or family member around you. The idea of moving to Los Angeles by yourself is very, very scary. It's a big, loud city. There's homelessness. It's just, it's outside of what you would consider your normal comfort zone. So let's fast forward to summer of 2017. I was 1 month into a 12-month lease. I was living in Rancho Cucamonga, and this whole time I'm just keeping my ear to the ground, waiting for the next opportunity to possibly, go work at a studio or under someone that was making records on major labels. That's all I wanted to do, was make records on labels. Within 1 month of this lease, an opportunity came up and I had to be in Los Angeles within roughly 3 weeks. So let's take the stress of not knowing really much about LA. Yes, I had visited, but I didn't know much about it besides it was loud, dirty, and there was just homeless people everywhere. And when I Googled the rents, my jaw dropped at how expensive rent could be in Los Angeles. Like a studio apartment, it's not weird to see a studio apartment for anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500 for just a studio apartment. We're not talking utilities as well, groceries. The level of amount of income you would need just to survive on a monthly basis goes up exponentially. So my idea, because I didn't really know the city too well or what areas to stay in or not stay in, I decided to just find a roommate, someone looking to rent out a room, an apartment, something. And I would save money, explore the city, find a new place to live, and go that route. I can make a whole video too about finding roommates in Los Angeles. That's literally a video in and of itself. So I find a roommate, I find a place to live within the first couple of weeks, and while balancing a new city. And I gotta be honest, the first couple of months of being in Los Angeles sucked. Parking, tickets, traffic, the homeless population. If you Google LA homeless on YouTube, it is insane. It's not being over dramatic. Those images and what you're seeing, I think underplay actually how bad it is in Los Angeles. But that's something to get used to in and of itself. There's just homeless people everywhere. It's dirty. So just a lot of things to consider. And I did find myself wondering, is it even worth it being here? Am I gaining anything? And I asked myself this same question for 3.5 years I was in Los Angeles. I asked myself this question every single day. And I really thought to myself, with wanting to be in the music industry, do I actually have to live in Los Angeles? Is this necessary? And last year during COVID, I asked myself the same question, and for me, it no longer was necessary to be in Los Angeles, which was an incredible feeling. But the reason I was able in such a short amount of time to not have my career dependent on living in Los Angeles was very simple. It's because I had lived in Los Angeles, and when I moved to Los Angeles, I was determined to make a name for myself, to work on records that matter, to network, to build relationships. And living in Los Angeles, and no matter the negatives that I feel towards it, those first couple of years of networking, building relationships and friendships really, really helped exponentially grow my trajectory within the career that I was aiming for. That would not happen anywhere else. So yes, there's a lot of bad, but as far as making it in the industry and meeting people, I full-heartedly still believe that if you really want to have a career in music and in audio or even acting or any type of creative field, Los Angeles is one of the places to be, if not the best place to be. New York is another big city to consider, but Los Angeles, everything is there. It's in the center. It's within driving distance. Someone randomly calling you to go meet up, to go have dinner, and someone else is just showing up at that dinner who happens to be connected to somebody else at this company. So many scenarios like that are real and happen if you put yourself in situations of saying yes. And anyone who's like, well, Los Angeles isn't always, yes, Los Angeles is not always like that. There are flakes. There are people who take advantage of other people. There is negative. There's always gonna be negative. You can never escape that, especially when you work in a creative field. That is just part of the business, and being self-aware that you really need to watch your own back. And yes, you can trust people and you want to have people in your corner that you can trust, but you really ultimately need to have, thick skin, be able to take rejection, but also be able to say no. If you're a headstrong person, you're well-rounded, you have great social skills, you'll do just fine. So if you're a creative, if you're an aspiring singer, a musician, audio engineer, a producer, a mixer, a mastering engineer, and you're wondering, is moving to LA worth it for what I'm trying to do? And I will say, if you are trying to work with A-tier clients and go to that next level, yes, I 100% believe LA is still the place to be, and it's 100% worth it, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. You have other cities like Austin, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia, where you can go as well. If you don't want to have like the big city experience, but you want to have something more manageable and a little cleaner, you can always go to those cities as well. But as far as if you want your career to be at an upper echelon, if you will, working with different types of higher clientele, Los Angeles is going to be much easier to do that. And once you've established yourself and done that, you can always move out of Los Angeles and you can do remote work. Those relationships will follow you. And sometimes some people will be happy to travel to get out of Los Angeles because they themselves need a vacation from Los Angeles. If you live there, when you get out of Los Angeles, it's kind of like a breather of like, oh, this is what the world's really like, because living in Los Angeles is kind of a hyper reality at all times. The best way I can describe it can get cartoony without meaning to get cartoony, just because you live in a hyper reality that it's different. And the weather's always nice, so you're not really there's no weather in Los Angeles, so there's a lot of variable factors to that. But do you absolutely have to move to Los Angeles or any of these other big music cities to make it? No, absolutely not. You can take a different approach and just, get big in your area, your city. Music, audio, creative jobs and opportunities are everywhere. It's just up to you to decide what is the right path for what you want to do. I'm of the mind that, you know what, go big or go home, or go big and at least say you tried. I moved to Los Angeles to do it because I just wanted to see if I could do it. And in my thought process was always, if I don't make it, I can always just go back home or go to a smaller city again and just do a slower grind, like grow my career slowly instead of trying to grow it exponentially. I was very fortunate and lucky that it worked out for me with a lot of my network connections to put me where I am today. But, I was still doing it at a slower pace. I just wanted to expedite that. Maybe the expedite's not for you, and that's 100% okay. So is it worth it moving to Los Angeles? Yes. Do you have to though? No, absolutely not. You can do it from home. And with that said, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.